Hey y'all, it's Kim again. So this is the third video of the deposition for Darren Indyke. He was the personal attorney for Jeffrey Epstein. Um, so far he's not really saying a whole lot as far as what he believes Epstein, or he acts like he doesn't know, just like the Richard Kahn dude doesn't know exactly what Epstein was up to with the young women and the massages and all the other stuff. So anyway, we're just gonna let this play. I'm gonna set in probably about an hour for the timer, and then because there's no way to sit for 6 hours, 45 minutes. I gotta break this up. But let's go ahead and let him talk. Hold on, let me get this ready. And we're gonna go. Just give it a moment to start up. My computer's always so slow. Hello.
Mr. Indyke, I want to go back to compensation. So when you started working for Mr. Epstein, what was your compensation? It's an annual salary, roughly the amount, or was it hourly?
No, started it was around, I want to say 450, 400 so.
$50,000 a year.
Yes.
Okay. And
I don't know why it does this. I probably need to update my computer. But I have so many tabs open, I'm afraid to lose them all.
did you, in addition to that, receive any kind of bonus compensation or incentive structure?
They don't recall on a year-to-year basis. When I went back to think about it, what I remember at the beginning was about $450,000.
And that salary, I presume, increased over time over the course of 23 years.
It did.
Okay. And from the time that you were hired until Epstein's death, could you tell us roughly ballpark how much you were paid?
Total ballpark between 27 to $30 million for 23 years. Roughly comes out to about $1 million per year.
And there's been reference already to one loan you received from Mr. Epstein.
It was a series of loans for that one.
How many?
It total, I think, 7 million. I think that's.
Jeez.
7 million. And what was the purpose of the loans? Why did you need the loans? Why did you give you the loans?
Ultimately, the idea was that I was going to do investing on my loans.
Did you end up doing it?
I invested in one thing.
What did you do with the rest of the $7 million?
I wound up using it.
You spent it.
I spent it, yeah.
Okay. And can you give us roughly the years that you received these loans?
2013 to 2018.
So $7 million in 5 years. You made some minimal investment and you spent the rest. I mean, what did you spend it on?
I support a lot of people in my household. I support both mothers, all of their health expenses. I support my sister-in-law who's got a granddaughter that she also takes care of. I support her as well.
You needed the money. You needed all of it.
I used the money.
And how many of these loans, or how much of the total loan amount, was ultimately forgiven by Mr. Epstein?
Before we get there, you should know that I've been paying interest all the way through by the time that he got interest on this.
That's actually one of my next questions. So why don't you?
And the answer to your question is that according to the estate plan, all of the loans are forgiven.
Upon his death, or when the estate is?
Well, right now it's up in the air because there has to be enough money in the estate to cover it.
Did Epstein ever pay you for anything beyond the legal services you described here tonight?
No, he never did.
Did he give you anything else of value? Gifts, real estate? We already talked about the IVF. Anything else?
He helped me purchase a house the first time that money was paid back. The second time, he helped me purchase a home by by purchasing my home in New Jersey, going to contract the home in New Jersey.
Did you ever make any payments directly to your wife or other family members?
As part of the discussion that we were just having, yes.
As part of this.
As part of this money.
7 million.
Yeah.
Some of that 7 million went directly to your wife. Yeah.
The house. For the house.
For the house. Okay. And you were asked earlier, share the IVF treatment funding.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Yes. Okay. That definitely did that.
I don't think you gave an amount roughly in terms of what he paid for the IVF treatment.
It's 5 times. I recall that at the time the treatments, the medical portion of the treatments was something like $10,000. And there was also the hormones that required to be purchased as well. I don't remember what they cost.
Okay, so 10,000 times 5 is what you remember.
I believe so.
Thank you.
We're gonna our time here is done. But I just one thing just to put into the record, and we just want to just be clear.
Yes.
It's our committee's opinion and understanding that within the subpoena that the Epstein estate has to actually provide us documents, there are actually 2 sections, section 15 and section 16, but we have not received those documents. Now the majority may have directly dismissed those sections with all of you directly. We understand that perhaps the majority feels that the estate has been fully responsive to the subpoena, but it's our understanding that we are still waiting for sections 15 and 16 in the subpoena, and the minority still wants access to those documents. We believe that their reports. So we're going to try to say that for the record, that we don't believe the subpoena is actually been fully complied with yet. Thank you.
I suggest, Congressman, that you talk to the majority because they know the answer to the question. We are awaiting instruction from the majority on those 2 sections. We are prepared to respond to them fully. We have responded fully to every request from the majority and the minority. We are awaiting instruction from the majority, which has been promised to us and not yet delivered.
Okay. Well, we look forward to the majority providing their response. We get those plans as progress.
We'll offer.
We will go back on the record. Chairman Comer.
Thank you. A couple of questions. You had mentioned earlier you, in your legal capacity, helped work some deals on stock transactions. Do you know anything about how he determined his investment strategy? Maybe not necessarily just with stocks, but with real estate. Did he just come to you, or did he, or in conversations, did he say how he decided to purchase this property in Europe or this property in the United States? I mean, it's strange to me that a guy that went from being a substitute teacher to advising the richest and most powerful people in the world on their finances and taxes. Do you know of or recall any conversations he had about how he determined which investments he would make?
No, Jeffrey Epstein was somebody who made all of the decisions he made on his own he would consult individual people. Like for his attorneys, he pulled pretty much every time he had an issue, all the issues that were working on a project, he would ask them questions, specific questions that he wanted answers to, but then he would go out and make his own decisions. He never discussed strategies. In fact, that was decidedly not something that he ever wanted to hear from me about. And not something he ever discussed with me. I would take direction after decisions were made, after conversations he had with his clients, directly with his clients. I would take direction after that fact and not be part of their kind of thought processes to get there. So the answer to your question is no.
Okay. So you had mentioned he consulted with other people. Do you know which other people he consulted with? Did you ever say Bill Gates told me to buy Microsoft? It's fixing to split or anything like that?
This is over a long period of time, and there's not a conversation that I would say stood out in my mind where that's where he got the information for something. Most people who interacted with him, it's my impression that they thought he was very, very smart.
Right.
They thought he knew a lot of stuff, that he was very knowledgeable about tax law, very, very knowledgeable about estate planning, and people and currencies, and people went to him for advice.
Did he just pick that up on his own? I mean, he obviously didn't study it in school.
I don't know.
You don't know?
But I know that he worked at Bear Stearns for a period of time. And it, as I understand it, and it's all kind of anecdotal to me, was learned option trading or became very, very successful at option trading there at a time when option trading wasn't such a well-known thing.
Right.
So he had a head for this stuff.
Okay.
At least that's the understanding that I have. And I don't think
pretty sophisticated. If you're on a time clock there, but Ms. Pelosi's the most recent offender, in my opinion, of stock trading. That's a big issue in Congress. Pelosi does stock options, and most people in Congress don't know what stock options are. But the concern about members of Congress, or I would include Epstein, trading options is you almost have to have a great deal of confidence that that stock's going to move in one direction or the other very soon. And that's where a lot of, obviously, insiders trade naked options and things like that. You don't ever recall Epstein saying, I'm purchasing this stock option because I know it's fixing to crash in a week.
No, I'm sorry. That's not the thing. It's not something he would ever discuss with me.
You had mentioned you set up a bunch of the LLCs, and I understand what you're saying to protect liability and things like that. Did he ever say why he needed to have so many LLCs to protect for liability?
I don't think he. The answer to your question is no. There was never a conversation. I need LLCs to protect liability. It was for the clients that he had, for example, like Lexner had a bunch of LLCs, a bunch of corporations set up, and it was just considered that's what you do. You have a new business, you set up a company for it. You have a new asset like a plane, you set up a company for it. Never appeared to me to be anything other than a legitimate reason to set up an entity. And for somebody who has a lot of money and a lot of assets and a lot of business ventures, if you're setting up separate entities for each, there's just going to be a lot of them. It was never meant to be a kind of a veil. And the truth of the matter is that anybody who interacted with any of these entities always knew that it was him that they were interacting with, or at least my understanding was, to my recollection, they knew that they were interacting with him as the beneficial owner of the entity. The banks did, certainly after 9/11, the banks definitely knew that it was him.
How many LLCs would you estimate Epstein has?
I don't think I could tell you.
More than 50?
I don't know.
Some people would suspect he had a lot of LLCs. Every property was a different LLC to protect himself from liability. And this is a guy that now we know, and you say you didn't know at the time, but was, potentially abusing women, maybe underage women, and obviously that would be an obvious reason to form an LLC on each separate property.
You can respond to that if you want. I don't think that really works.
Okay.
Because it's a personal tort. If he engages in a personal tort for which he is civilly liable, it doesn't matter which entity that owned the property that it happened on. You can go after him for engaging in the personal tort.
Okay. Go back.
Just a couple of questions. You pled guilty in 2007 and received an 18-month sentence. You wrote a letter for his plea for a new sentence, but you wrote a part of the letter. Who were his attorneys that represented him during that time?
It's a lot of them. And I gave you a list, and I'll list them again.
Did you know them? Did you recommend them? Or
No, they were in place, and newly ones came into place.
It predate you? You've obviously been there for close to 20 years now.
But I don't know that they predated me. I don't know. I know that they were there.
You said there were 3 lawyers and there were 2 lawyers, then you were
Then-
a lawyer.
Yeah,
At that, in 2007, was it just you or were there 2 or 3?
2007, I think, it was just, I think Jeff Jansen was no longer associated with him. So it was just me, and I think the other attorney that was handling it.
Be involved in whatever the situation you had that allowed him to leave jail 6 days a week for 12 hours a day?
That would have been, his defense team, Jack Owens.
I mean, not a lot of people that go to jail for 18 months, only serve 13 and get out 12 hours a day, 6 days a week.
So my understanding, and again, this is not something I did,
Sure.
but my understanding at the time, yes, but criminal defense versus transactional work on a stock purchase agreement, are different things.
Oh, wait, you were gonna explain.
I am gonna explain that. My understanding, from the defense lawyers was that they were asking, and they said it in response to, I think, claims even by the assistant U.S. attorney that this was not appropriate. And my understanding from the defense lawyers is they requested and received only that which any other similarly situated person in jail would be entitled to at the time. That was my understanding. And that's
Each county had a very interesting system for work release. Okay. That's just something that I think the American people are like, that's kind of strange. But moving on, this morning there was a CBS News article that published that you, Indyke and Todd recently said the lawsuit accusing them of facilitating sham marriages in which foreign-born victims married Americans whom Epstein abused for immigration purposes. Can you tell us anything about the settlement? Who was it with?
This settlement was in this, it was just a putative class action lawsuit that in the settlement was by the estate as well as us. It was upwards of $35 million to be paid to those who were abused by Mr. Epstein.
How many plaintiffs were there? Can you tell us that?
How many?
How many plaintiffs?
There was one initially. That plaintiff was dismissed out of the case. Another plaintiff came on, and then the second plaintiff after that came on.
Is this settlement public or is it private?
I believe that they filed a notice of the settlement in the court. I think the documents speak for
The allegations underline the.
Let me just make one thing clear, because you mentioned about the number of plaintiffs, so that's the named plaintiffs, but it's a class action, so it's supposedly on behalf of some unknown number.
Right, and that class hasn't been certified.
What were the allegations underlying the claim?
I would refer you to the document itself, but in substance, it seemed to me that what was being said was that in providing accounting services and in providing legal services that we did for Mr. Epstein, that we facilitated his conduct of a sex trafficking enterprise.
So it seems that there were foreign-born women that their visa was going to expire and they were going to have to leave, or they were going to be overstaying their visa. And the scheme was to get the woman to marry an American. I mean, I guess there's a lot of documentation associated with that, and the allegations that you and Khan facilitated the underlying documents for that. Is that what the allegations were?
I don't think that's accurate. And again, I tell you to go please read the complaint to see what they were. And again, I can tell you that I never arranged, I never facilitated. I didn't even know about the matter.
What's your relationship with OSA Properties?
What's that?
What's your relationship with OSA Properties?
I don't have a direct relationship with OSA. I don't have any relationship with OSA.
Did you ever do any legal work associated with OSA Properties? For example, creating leases for individuals that were living there?
I obtained a lease for most of the properties.
Tenant of 301 East 66th Street?
At one point, I was a tenant, yes.
Okay. Um, I'll ask the rest of my questions later. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Indyke,
Yes.
we appreciate your patience. We're gonna be jumping around. Obviously, we have the minority and the majority asking questions, and we would like to avoid repeat questions. But I want to follow up first on Chairman Comer's questions as it related to the LLC. From your testimony, it sounds like a lot of the time when Mr. Epstein would solicit opinions, would it be fair to say he already had his mind up of how he would want to proceed, whether it was a particular transaction or the creation of an entity?
I don't know that that's true or not true, and I think it would depend on each circumstance.
Did Mr. Epstein ever create LLCs or any other entities himself and then later inform you?
I have no recollection of him ever doing so.
Can I ask a quick question? Did you ever create LLCs for people that were employees of Epstein?
Did I ever create an LLC for people that were employees of Epstein? There was an LLC called Lynn and Jojo LLC. That was an LLC that acquired a home that Lynn and Jojo, who were staff members of his, resided in. I believe I had something to do with the creation of, I don't know if I actually did it or if there was a corporate service company that did it, but I believe I had something to do with creating the entity that owned that house.
Is that the only LLC that was created?
If that's an LLC, I think HBRK was an LLC that for Rich Collin.
It seems the post 2009 scheme was to entrap women and create a complicated financial, legal, emotional web that they couldn't get out of. And there's allegations that created LLCs for some of those women, which then have you ever operated someone's LLC without their knowledge?
Well, can I address the idea of this scheme? I know nothing about a scheme. It was never, if I was asked to form an LLC, I formed an LLC. And if I was asked to form an LLC, I would have been told, like in the case of when we go to LLC, this is for the purchase of a house. And I would have been told this is for the purchase of a house. Now,
would it surprise you to know that Epstein is operating LLCs for people that he ostensibly employed without their knowledge?
Yes, that would surprise me.
And you agree that it would be illegal to do things like file taxes and operate that LLC without the individual's knowledge, and if that person had asked for information surrounding that, withholding that would also be problematic.
I wouldn't want to express an opinion on something like that unless I actually saw what you're talking about.
During our previous hour, we talked about whether Epstein may have been tipped off to assert a search warrant at his residence. You had said that you did not know. Is that a fair characterization of your testimony?
That's a fair characterization of my testimony.
Do you think he was tipped off?
I really don't know.
Did you understand Mr. Epstein to have close relationships with government officials in Southern Florida?
No.
Did Jeffrey Epstein ever inform or represent to you that he was working with any intelligence service of any nation, including the United States?
No.
Did Ghislaine Maxwell ever inform or represent to you that she was working with any intelligence service of any nation, including the United States?
No.
During your relationship, did you ever suspect Epstein or Maxwell of being affiliated with any intelligence agency?
I never suspected either of them. No.
At any time, have you had any affiliation with any intelligence agency?
No.
You've never.
The did you, Barack, live at 301 East 66th Street while you were there?
I recall, though I'm not 100% certain, but I recall that Ehud Barak may have stayed at an apartment in 301 East 66th Street. There were several apartments there that guests would come into town, people that he knew, that he would make available for people to stay at for a short period of time. It is possible, and I'm not 100% certain that Ehud Barak did in fact stay at the apartment at one time or another.
Would it surprise you that the property records show that Ehud Barak's wife lives there from 2019 to today?
It would surprise me, yes.
Okay.
And just because Ehud Barak was brought up, did you have any relationship with that individual?
I believe that on one of those occasions when I was visiting Epstein, not one, two, maybe three, but a limited number of occasions when I was doing work at Epstein, when I was going over status or going over an assignment with him in his dining room on the ground floor of his townhouse. Barak had come to the townhouse, or it was just leaving, and I believe I said hello, or I was introduced once, maybe or twice.
What was your understanding of Mr. Barak's relationship with Mr. Epstein?
I didn't really have an understanding of their relationship. I knew that there was a relationship, but I didn't really have an understanding of what it was.
Did you ever have any understanding that Mr. Ehud Barak had ties to intelligence?
From what, as a general matter, what one reads in the news, I thought as a former prime minister of Israel, probably, I didn't know more than that.
And outside of Mr. Ehud Barak, is there anyone that you know of affiliated with Mr. Epstein or Maxwell that you suspected to have ties to intelligence?
None, no. The answer is no.
And again, for the record, you have never had any relationship with any intelligence service.
I have not, no.
You have never visited CIA headquarters in Langley, Virginia?
No.
During the previous hour, the minority asked you questions related to your role as Mr. Epstein's attorney. I believe that they discussed at length the compensation structure. I just want to focus on your hiring, and again, recognizing I'll probably make you repeat yourself.
It's okay.
Is our understanding that you were working with this partner on Mr. Epstein's accounts, and subsequent to that, you and that partner went to J. Epstein and Company? Is that fair characterization?
No, it didn't happen that way.
Okay.
I worked first as a paralegal, then as a clerk, and then as an associate at a law firm by the name of Golden Wachtel, at which that partner was a partner by the time he left. He left Golden Wachtel before I left Golden Wachtel. After he left Golden Wachtel, I then went to Greenberg Traurig for about a year or so. And when I was at Greenberg Traurig for about a year, I received a call from that partner to consider come working for him, with him, for representing Mr. Epstein.
And initially, what was your compensation for Mr. Epstein, with Mr. Epstein?
It's a long time ago, but I believe it was around $450,000.
Working with Mr. Epstein?
A little bit less than that, but probably in the 300s. I don't, it's a guess. I don't recall 100%, but it was less.
How were you compensated by Mr. Epstein?
Well, it depended. If I was working as an employee, like I was for J. Epstein and Company, then I was compensated directly by the company, J. Epstein and Company. when I was working for the company New York Strategy Group would get paid by Epstein, and then New York Strategy Group would pay me and whatever it paid me at the time. And when I was working with my own law firm, I received the funds directly from Epstein. Or Epstein, or it could have been one of his entities like Southern Trust Company.
And you mentioned previously that you started around 450,000 a year.
Yeah.
What was your compensation by the time that you finished representing Mr. Epstein during his life?
My last compensation that I received for him before he died was, or maybe it was just after he died, was pursuant to an employment agreement that he signed, was the payment was $200 million. Sorry, $2 million, not $200 million. Sorry.
Did you find your compensation to be commensurate with your experience?
I did. I remember. I went to Cornell Law School. I had a background in corporate and securities law. I worked for an AmLaw 100 law firm. I was on call 24/7 for 7 days a week. And I was expected to get things done very quickly and very carefully. Transactions were very complicated. They involved high dollar amounts. So given all of that, yes, I believe I was compensated commensurate with my experience and with the skill level that I exercised.
Did you receive equity interest as part of your compensation?
No.
Did you ever receive gifts outside of your base pay?
I received loans, as we've discussed, and I received, he helped me purchase my house in New Jersey, which ultimately got paid back. And then when I went to purchase the house in Florida, he agreed to purchase my house in New Jersey on a deferred basis, gave me the money in advance, which was used then to purchase the house in Florida. And that ultimately, because he died, it never came to pass. And according to the estate plan, that contract was basically null. Obviously, if there's no money in the estate, that there will be an accounting that has to happen. But
Plus the IVF treatment.
what's that?
Plus the IVF treatment.
Oh, plus the IVF treatment. Sorry. Yes. That was a gift. Yes.
And during the minorities hour, I recognize that they talked to you at length about the loan. Was the $7 million provided at one time, or was it
Over time?
Okay. And between 2013 and 2017 is what I believe you testified to.
17 or 18.
And did you approach Mr. Epstein and ask him for these loans?
I did. Yes.
What did that look like?
I told him that I'd like to spend more money and I'd like to do it. I was thinking about doing investments, and he would tell me, "Okay, I'll loan you this much." And it was very definitely a loan.
And Chairman Comer had discussed Mr. Epstein's investments. Did he have an opinion on the specific investment that you were looking to make?
No, he never discussed investments, Jeffrey.
Did you receive any other remuneration we did not cover?
I don't think I did. I don't recall anything else.
In performing your roles and responsibilities for Mr. Epstein, I'm going to ask you if you communicate with the following individuals.
Okay.
First, Mr. Richard Kahn.
Yes.
Mr. Harry Beller.
Yes.
Oh, Harry Beller, yes.
Miss Leslie Groth.
Yes.
Miss Sarah Kellen.
Yes.
Miss Nadia Marcinkova.
Yes.
Miss Karina Shuliak.
Yes.
Miss Bella Klein.
Yes.
Mr. Emad Hanna.
Yes.
For the, in regards to all of these individuals, how would you typically communicate with them?
Sometimes personally, for example, at one point, Emad and Rich Khan and Bella and I were in the same office in New York City. Harry too, if Harry Bella. And I believe Leslie was also there.
And is that the 301 address?
No, originally there was an address on Madison Avenue. And then there was an address when Epstein was in jail. Each of us moved to different offices in 301 East 66th Street for a period of time. And then after he came out of jail, each of us moved to offices in an executive office space on Lexington Avenue.
What was Mr. Khan's role?
He was an accountant. I don't know if he actually had an official title, but I have heard him referred to as a CFO. But I don't know if he actually had an official title. So
How closely did you work with Mr. Khan?
we had offices near each other. We talked about if there was a specific job that required me telling him something or him telling me something. We communicated that way, but we weren't close. I think there's at least a few occasions where we socialized. I think he went to my kids' bat mitzvah, and I think when one of the office people was leaving, we had a dinner we went to together. That was the relationship.
What role did Harry Beller play?
Harry Beller was, as I understand it, a bookkeeper.
And
he was in the accounting department. Again, my role was more legal, not accounting. So the specifics of what was done in the accounting department was not something that I knew as much about.
But you mentioned Mr. Khan, you worked in close proximity to him. Was that true for Mr. Beller as well?
Mr. Beller worked in the same office. Again, not in the same office, but in the same floor. We had offices on the same floor. So we saw each other from time to time. I didn't sit with him. And if he had a question about something, I would answer a question. I had a question about something, and I can't tell you specifically what the question would be about. I would ask him the question.
Outside of work, did you socialize with Mr. Beller?
I'm trying to remember if Mr. Beller was invited to and attended my daughter's bat mitzvah. He may have. But other than that, no.
What was Bella Klein's role?
She was also in the accounting office, also a bookkeeper. But the specifics of what her job was, I don't know.
Did you socialize with Miss Klein?
Also, I went to one wedding with her, and I believe she was invited to the bat mitzvah.
What about Emad Anna?
Emad Hannah. Yeah. He was a purchasing person. Purchased a lot of equipment and tools, heavy machinery, particularly for the, if I recall, for the island Little St. James when there was a lot of construction projects going on there.
Did you socialize with him?
He may have gone to the bat mitzvah, I don't remember. I think he did.
While working with these individuals, did you ever discuss anything related to Mr. Epstein's personal life?
No.
During litigation with JP Morgan, there's been documents that have shown JP Morgan staff making comments that tend to show they may have had some awareness into Mr. Epstein's personal life. One in particular was referencing him hanging out with Miley Cyrus. Is it your testimony today that you do not recall ever having any conversations with the people you worked with that related to Mr. Epstein's affinity with young women or girls?
My recollection is I never had a conversation with anybody in the accounting office about Epstein's affinity for younger girls. I don't know that he had an affinity for younger girls. I don't recall ever having any kind of conversation.
Can't have a name. Art of the Scarlets.
Art of the Scarlets was an immigration lawyer.
Degree in frequency did you interact with?
I interacted with him a number of times.
How many separate instances? Are we talking a dozen?
Maybe a dozen, maybe a little bit more.
Was that surrounding immigration cases for his assistants or other individuals?
Assistants. It may have been for some of the island managers were from South Africa. It may have been for them. So that would have been a couple from South Africa.
What percent of the immigration cases that you worked on were young, attractive women?
I don't think it's appropriate for me to comment on attractive women.
What's between the ages of 15 and 30?
I would say that's a wide range. I must say that qualifies for that. Right?
I don't recall there being any underage women ever that I did work for.
How many women between the ages of 18 and 30 did you work with Art of the Scarlets to facilitate immigration paperwork? Range?
I think the
less than 10, more than 20.
First, I think the verb facilitate immigration paperwork. To the extent that I did anything, it was to look over a document or to add a request from a person to provide a document. But I wasn't facilitating immigration. That's not an appropriate word. I'm sorry.
If Art of the Scarlets asks you for documents to beef up the immigration application, I would use the word facilitate. Okay.
Just to be clear, that wasn't a question, right? So he's not going to answer, but I think he would have taken issue with that statement.
Yes.
Good voice up.
Yes, sorry.
Continuing on the list I previously brought up,
yes.
Leslie Groff, what was her role?
She was Mr. Epstein's assistant for a while when he was in jail. She also helped me with some of my legal work.
Can you elaborate on that legal work?
Nothing sticks out in my head today, but to the extent I needed documents copied or if I wanted to send an email to somebody, I would tell her to please send an email to somebody.
So you're just referring to administrative work?
Correct.
Did you socialize with Ms. Groff outside work?
Ms. Groff also was invited to my kid's bat mitzvah, and I believe that Ms. Groff went to that dinner, that one dinner, with when one of the workers in our office was leaving. But beyond that, no. So that's the extent of my socialization.
Who is Sarah Cohen?
Sarah Cohen, to my knowledge, was one of Jeffrey Epstein's assistants.
And what were your interactions with Ms. Cohen?
From time to time, Sarah Cohen would relate a request. Nothing comes to my mind about what request that Jeffrey had relating to some legal issue. Sarah Cohen also, as I understand it, was doing interior design work for Epstein. Epstein had a lot of properties, as we know, and was constantly redecorating and changing them. And Sarah was doing a lot of the procuring and for the decorating that he was doing on those properties. And I believe the entity that she did it through was an entity, her business was Sarah, SLK Designs, I think it's something like that it was called.
Did you create that entity?
I don't recall, but it is possible.
Did you socialize with Miss Kellen outside of work?
No.
Who is Karina Shuliak?
I have come to know Karina ultimately as somebody who was a girlfriend of Mr. Epstein. But I did not have that realization until, I want to say, 2015, 2016, around there.
And we discussed her in the context of one of the alleged sham marriages.
I was not aware that it was a sham marriage. I'm still not sure that it's a sham marriage, but she was one of the people that was married, yes.
But you came, Karina, after this marriage.
So the word romantic for me is kind of loaded. I understood her to be his girlfriend, whatever that meant, and I didn't know what that meant. I don't know what his actual intimate relationship with her was.
Did you socialize with Ms. Shuliak outside of your official role?
No.
We talked about Ms. Groff, Ms. Kellen, and Ms. Shuliak. You understood all of them to be assistants of Mr. Epstein, is that right?
Say again, Ms. Groff, Ms. Kellen, and Ms. Shuliak.
Right.
Yes, and Sarah, as I explained, Sarah also did decorating and design work for me.
Was Nadia Marcinkova an assistant?
To the extent that the same extent that I don't know what that meant, I understood at some point, I became aware that Nadia was a girlfriend of Epstein's, but she was also an assistant.
When did you meet Nadia Marcinkova?
You had something to show me, I can tell you, but I don't recall when I met her.
You may not recall when you met her, but do you know how old she may have been when you met her?
She was well above the age of 18. I guess I should take this point. I have heard stories referred to her as a child sex slave or something like that. And I will tell you that I do not believe that to be true. I don't think that was true. And as part of the defense counsel's kind of disclosures to federal and state governments in connection with the Epstein investigation, they made it clear that that wasn't true.
In this 2019 indictment, you're familiar with the allegations.
If you have a specific allegation,
He was accused of engaging in sex trafficking, human trafficking. If you were on the jury and that had gone to trial, would you vote to convict him given all of your information you have?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
You were on the jury and gone to trial.
I'm sorry, for which?
For 2002, 2005, the indictment that you probably have read, if that went to trial and you were on the jury, would you have been in favor of convicting him for the charges with which he was alleged to have committed?
Based upon what I knew then, the answer would have been no.
What about now?
I don't know.
$750 million been paid in settlements. Close. And you don't know whether it's
750 million.
what was Bank of America.
Yeah.
I mean, so okay, that was helpful.
I don't know.
Mr. Indyke, I want to return back to, I characterize those women as assistants. What would you, and I'm about to ask more questions related to Mr. Epstein's various assistants.
Okay.
Do you disagree with the committee's characterization of some of these women as his assistants?
To the extent that I knew what their role was, they appeared to me to be assistants. They appeared to be taking messages for him, making travel plans for him, running errands for him. So they appeared to me to be assistants.
In the time that you worked for Mr. Epstein, roughly how many assistants did he have?
I don't know. Like 10, 15, it's a guess. I don't know. We could go through them if you want.
As his corporate attorney, did you advise him on employment matters related to their hiring?
Typically, no.
Were all of his assistants female?
Office assistants, I would say yes, but he did employ people to assist him with like architectural stuff. I can think of one person that was at least one person that was a man. His chefs were largely men. Household staff there were men as well as women. So I think the answer is no. Personal assistance in the sense of taking messages and getting coffee and things like that, I would say yes, except that there was overlap with household functions like bringing meals and things like that.
What percent of the women lived at 301 East 66th Street?
I don't know.
Your office was there for a while, and you don't know what percent of his assistants lived at 301 East 66th Street?
So my office was in one apartment in a 150 unit building. I was not in the accounting office. To the extent that Epstein provided apartments to those people, that's not something I did. So the answer is no.
The answer is you don't know.
Yeah, right. The answer is I don't. Well, I was answering your other question. The answer is I don't know. Correct.
Did you find it suspicious that his personal assistants were women?
No. In my experience, in my exposure to other men in the business world, oftentimes the assistants were women. Even in the lawyers, the assistants were women.
You didn't find it suspicious that the guy that just went to prison for prostitution of a minor had 7 different female assistants and had a very strange situation surrounding all of them? That's not suspicious?
There's a lot to unpack there. So this
The guy that just went to prison for.
So if I can answer the question, I'd like to answer the question.
Yeah, you gotta shut up long enough for him to do it.
Prison was registered as a sex offender. He was under intense scrutiny. So no, I didn't think that if he had women, also he was under intense scrutiny and there was publicity about him. So no, I never made the assumption that women were working for him, were engaged in a sexual relationship with him. And I never believed that he would be engaging in conduct, which with all the scrutiny on him, could put him back in the place where he said he was never going to go to.
How are these assistants compensated?
We'll assume they were paid by check or either as independent contractors or as salaried employees or various entities.
To be clear, did you ever provide cash payments to Epstein's assistants?
Not that I recall, no.
Did you ever witness Mr. Epstein giving cash to his assistants?
For their personal payment? The answer is no, not that I recall. Is it possible that I was in a room where he handed cash to them in order to tip somebody who showed up or to pay for a particular thing that he asked them to get? That's possible. I don't have a specific recollection, but it's certainly possible.
Did you ever witness Mr. Epstein pay women for massages?
No.
During the previous hour, I believe you testified that you visited Zorro Ranch. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And how many times did you visit Zorro Ranch?
2 or 3 times.
What were the nature of your visits to the ranch?
Usually, if I'm visiting a property, and I believe in this instance, it had to do with some kind of either construction project taking place on the property. Oh, and there was one other time, now that I'm thinking about it, when my family and I took a vacation out in New Mexico. Epstein wasn't there at the time, but my family and I visited the ranch just to see it.
Did you visit the Palm Beach residence?
I did.
How many times did you visit that residence?
Well, after he was in jail, when I went to see him in jail, I actually stayed at the Palm Beach residence in one of the rooms, one of the bedrooms.
And how long did you reside at that residence?
I didn't reside at the residence. I stayed in the residence. When I would go visit him, I would go there for a day, stay overnight, and come back to New York, New Jersey.
Did you visit his residence in Paris?
I visited the residence in Paris once when I was on a family trip when he wasn't there.